Carol wanted to join us. So everybody will fine with it?
I make a motion that we go ahead and have it streamed so that others can.
Okay. We don't, I don't know what, I don't know if we really need a motion or anything like that.
Rick, you're gonna need to be at the microphone.
Show of hands.
Sorry to be a pain, but you're gonna need to be at the microphone.
Sure, they can hear me, but I can't hear them.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, and I'm gonna get Zoom set up.
Are we live? Can you hear me now?
We are live streaming now on YouTube. I just sent out a link. I gotta get Zoom set up real quick. If you wanna, two
Okay.
things. Did you tell them
I,
about that?
I told them, yeah, everybody was fine with that.
All right. Yeah, we just need, as I share, I was met with our district president yesterday, ran into him at a conference I was at with Miriam, and he made mention of that, so thank you for that. I'll get this Zoom up and running. I only had one person zooming in, so bear with us if you would, please. I hate to not include them if we said we'd do it. Elise, you'll be able to see if anyone does use YouTube. I just sent that link out. It'll probably take about 5 minutes, so they might pop in a little late. So joys of technology. The joys and curses, I'd say.
Exactly.
Let's sign in. Oops, wrong. That's my password, not my username. I don't probably need this. Start the meeting. Rick, they're going to be focused on you or whoever's speaking on the, I guess I can put them, see the congregation, but I don't know if they really want to see that.
Hey,
Right now, it's just going to be you and me. I think you're good to go. We have it here. No one's joined in. Oh, there we go. There we go. Welcome, Carol. We have Garrick signing right here. They're the only ones that asked for the Zoom, so. As soon as you see, sure, audio's connecting, so.
all right. We'll open with devotion and prayer.
Yes. Thank you for bearing with me, everyone. Carol, I think, Carol, can you hear me, Carol? I gotta take myself. Carol, can you hear me? Yeah. All right, good. All right, thank you. If you would just mute yourself, Carol, if that's, well, I don't, actually, you're fine. As long as you can hear us. So, and we are live streaming on YouTube, so anyone YouTube, thanks for joining us as well. So, well, let us go ahead and we'll begin with a prayer. We'll begin with a psalm, Psalm 82 here. God takes his place in the divine council. In the midst of the gods, he holds judgment. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Selah. Give justice to the weak and the fatherless. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. Rescue the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. They have neither knowledge nor understanding. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are shaking. I said, you are gods, sons of the Most High, all of you. Nevertheless, like men you shall die, and fall like any prince. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for you shall inherit all the nations. We pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, you are the God of all people, and yet not all people recognize you to be the true living God. We pray, Lord, that you use the church and our sister congregations to let your word of peace and life and truth go forth. Use your congregation here in the midst of this community in the hand of the wicked by the way of your word. Bless our discussion, Lord, in the things that we do, so that the eternal affairs here, the temporal affairs here may help us continue with the eternal that we've been given to carry we interact with one another. Be with us, Lord, in Jesus' name alone. Amen.
You have, we have some additions for our agenda. You'll see, our new line vacancy is in that to your, voters meeting agenda. Looking for an approval of our agenda that we have. Need approval and a second on the agenda. We got approved by Wayne, not Wayne. Gene, Trader, and a second by Bob. All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Patience with me, folks. This has been some interesting times trying to hold council meetings and how we're going to hold a voters meeting, but we'll get through this. You have in your packet there was the minutes of the voters meeting from December 8th. Any changes or corrections? If none, I would accept a motion to approve the minutes. We have a motion and a second. Rock was the motion. Dave was the second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving right along. Board reports and past reports were also in your packet. Any questions on the board reports? On what?
There are no reports that were submitted by those boards. We do have stuff that in regards to when we get to the new business, there will be information out there. We do have, and you'll find it on the screen. Don't worry, I have all that information on the recording.
I had one to bring up under new business.
Okay.
Does that need to be approved under item 2 on there, or is that something that there's room for when we do new business? Is it like any other? Okay, I want to looking at moving the Thursday night services to Wednesday.
Moving the Thursday service to Wednesday?
Wednesdays.
I will go get an amendment for.
We're still here, Carol. We're just doing a few things, so don't feel like we abandoned you. We're coming back.
All right, I need a motion, another motion on approval on the agenda. Larry asked if we would put meeting, our Thursday service to Wednesday in our, actually under new business, under G. If everybody's fine with that, we'll add that to our agenda. Any opposition? If not, we'll add that to our agenda under new business. All right. Now I need a vote to accept the reports, the board reports and passage reports as accepted, or as presented. Sorry. Motion? Motion by Jeff. Is there a second? Second by Miriam. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, old business, microphones and Bluetooth.
I'll speak to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hear me on Zoom as well. Just in regards, reminder that last December at the voters meeting, we approved to move forward with getting microphones for the choir. They were going to be wireless, something that Kyle looked into for us. It's numerous times, unfortunately, and finally I said, "Oh, we looked into it. Serious pastor, we looked at it numerous times." I said, yes, and so we decided it, and it was to get wireless mics for the Sunday school, for choir, as well as a Bluetooth adapter, so we could hook up like iPad, everything else. We were moving forward with that plan. It was approved by the voters to use private funds for that December's meeting, and then everything broke loose with in regards to and so I took a sort of executive decision. You can give me my elections later if you want. I'll take them. But I sort of put a hold on that because knowing we were going forward, I didn't know what our financial situation was going to be like, and as pressing of a need at this time. I still think it's a need I'd like us to pursue at some point. We've been in talk with Northern Sound about that, but when I was talking to Roger, the gentleman there, you'll see, I'd like to pursue that maybe this fall if we know where things are at, because I think it'd still be worthwhile. Remember the cost was about $6,500, I think, around $6,500.
We had,
Oh, yeah, it's in
we
here.
had 6,000.
Yeah.
roughly Approved by the voters.
Yeah, so, yeah, we made a motion to use up the bid though.
Right.
Yeah, so we used up to 6, which included, I think, that 2 new handheld mics too, right? They were both wireless and stuff, so that we wouldn't be interfering with other cross signals. So we still hope to move forward with that. We just sort of put a hold on everything just because of COVID. Trying to be a socially and good stewards of the finances we have, and just saying, is this a pressing need at this point? So that's what that is.
Okay,
So
all right.
an update.
Thanks for the update.
Any questions on that, I guess?
Any more, yeah, any questions or concerns on that? I'm sure we're gonna move forward it, because we already approved it, it's just, we move forward it with other things at the present time to continue, getting our services out to everybody, so. And that's coming up in new business. I'll explain to you what we did in the new business part. So if we have nothing in old business, we're gonna move on to new business. Item A is government loan and application. I'll let Krista talk on that.
So I'm sure many of you are familiar or have at least heard it in the news, the Paycheck Protection Program that was offered by the government. And it was allowed for nonprofits and for religious organizations to assist in, there are certain expenses that the loans can cover, and the main one is payroll. You can pay utilities, mortgage interest, and then there's another category, but it's very limited. So when we were going into everything in April, we decided as a council that we needed to react quickly and get approved so that we could get some funds to assist us. We had previously voted that for payroll, we were going to maintain our payroll with our current employees. So whatever scheduled hours they would have normally been working, they were paid for, even if they didn't perform services for those hours. We took a vote as a council and just decided that we wanted to take care of our employees, and that we felt that it was our duty, just given, the church, what we stand for, to take care of those employees. So we applied, we got the $28,300 of funds, and originally you can get 2.5 times your average monthly payroll, and that's how they calculated the $28,300. Originally, we only had 8 weeks to spend those funds in. However, there was a change that was made, which now allows those funds to be spent over a 24-week period. Technically, this is a loan. However, you apply for forgiveness, and so long as you have used It used to be 75%, now they've changed it to 60% of the loan funds for payroll purposes, and then the remaining funds that you didn't use for payroll were for the approved categories of expenses. It would all be forgivable. So from what we are seeing right now, everything of our loan will be forgivable. We just need to complete the application for forgiveness once the funds are completely spent. And right now, I think it'll be mid-July, and then that 28.3 will be spent. Does anyone have any questions, concerns regarding that? I know council, we were a little hesitant because we knew it was a loan, but it was something we had to be really reactive to. I'm sure many of you heard the funds ran out the first time, so we felt we just needed to be very reactive and timely, and we didn't have time to get voter approval. So again, we apologize, although we're in an unprecedented time, so we just felt it was a need, so.
And to speak to that, to speak to that as well, the district was encouraging congregations go for this. We weren't the only church who applied for this. Numerous churches did apply and got approved, not just here in Wisconsin, but throughout the U.S. But it was a timely matter. The first time we actually didn't make the cut. We missed the cut. So, and then when they came out with the second roll, we were ready to go. So just to give you an idea. So you had to act quick. I think the first time they were gone within like 3 days or something, I think.
No, it was about a week and a half.
About a week and a half, okay.
Yeah, and we got into an issue because our local bank was using online services through Cabbage at the time, and Cabbage is just an online bank. So we had done that application, but we just kept getting questions back. And then there was an issue as if housing allowance would be included in wages. And so Mike Stone stepped up and said, you know, let's let the Bank of Luxembourg take care of us. And so we ended up going through Bank of Luxembourg.
That's where Mike works.
Yep. Yeah. And so he processed it, and within a day or two, we had the funds and the check, so.
Now, worst case scenario, my understanding, Krista, to clarify, if we have to pay back, it was only paying back what we didn't use, is that correct?
Yep, as long as we meet the payroll, which they softened to be from that 75 to, as long as 60% of those funds are used for payroll, then any unforgiven amount would be subject to a 1% interest rate. And so, you know, worst case scenario, if we had to pay 1% of any of that balance in interest for the $28,300 of, we'll call it free money. We all know it's not free money. We're paying for it. But, you know, so it wasn't much exposure, and I am confident that the funds are being spent 100% under the forgiven.
Yeah, and you would have had
items.
2 years to pay that back, is that right?
They've expanded it. They've made
Okay.
it 5 years, but then there's some scenarios where, based on dating, it may still be the 2. I think we would still fall within the 2, but everything changes every other day on this stuff, so I don't, I don't believe any of it right now. It's fun trying to advise clients on this, let me tell you.
I am so thankful for Krista, because when this came across my desk, I know I reached to you and we chatted, and this is outside my area of expertise. They don't teach us money management in the seminary. They just teach us to pass the offering plate, that's all. So it was nice to have someone like Krista who's knowledgeable in this, and Mike Stone as well, who was working through a lot of this as well, being in the banking industry. So thank you two for your help with all that.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so I think that was everything, if no one has any additional questions.
I have a question. So you applied the first time and then you applied the second time. How long was the difference in between?
So the first time, we actually submitted an application, but it was never processed. So we technically only applied once, but the funds first came available, gosh, I think it was April 2nd or April 8th was the first date to apply for the funds. And then by the 15th, 17th, they were out. And so during that next week, we applied with Mike Stone, and our loan was funded and approved, I want to say on Monday or Tuesday of that week. It was like April 28th, 29th, and then the loan was funded on May 1st. So the actual funding date of our loan is May 1st. And that starts our 24-week period, or at the time, we thought the 56 days or 8 weeks began on May 1st.
Yeah, so to answer, I guess, your question, from the time we first applied, which would be roughly about April 1st, to about May 1st, so about a month.
Actually, it was probably even shorter than that.
Yeah.
I mean, 15 to 20
When
days.
we started the paperwork, because we had some council discussions in there before we applied too, so,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, 3 of them.
by Zoom.
Can you hear me? Can you see me, Keith? Are you there?
Okay, I'm going to go on to the next item, if that's all right,
Which
that
one's
sound
that?
system and video
Oh,
upgrades.
sure, go ahead.
So, if you recall, there were some designated donations that we had sitting out there that were given. And this particular, there was a $5,000 donation that was received probably a year or two ago from an individual who was given in the honor of a child's name in the congregation. And that child's parents could decide how the funds were to be used. And it just so happened that when we looked into upgrading the live stream equipment, the cost of it was like $5,000.56. And so we had this $5,000 of donated dollars out there that this individual could authorize to be spent however they chose. And so that is how we proceeded forward with covering the costs of updating the sound system and video system for the live streaming. So does anyone have any questions on that part of it? There was nothing taken from the budget, anything, and those funds had already been previously approved for receipt of them.
And thanks to Kyle, we've been able to get more of the sound part working, so we're better with our live streaming now. And so I think our next move in that, Braden Moreland was back there helping with the system. He said he thinks part of our problem with streaming is our computer may not be strong enough.
That would
So,
make sense.
which makes sense. We've
Yeah.
already had that discussion already a little bit, so we'll eventually upgrade that computer. That might help us out a little bit. Maybe it will help with some of our streaming problems, but the last month, things have gotten a lot better, so.
And it may be worth doing a tower
Yeah, desktop,
versus,
yeah.
desktop versus a laptop, so.
Yep.
Okay.
Roger mentioned that too when he came.
Just so you know, I mean, those two items, as a council standpoint, I just want to bring up that we had multiple discussions on these because we're moving forward, spending your money without your approval. But in the times that were put in front of us, this was the best decision at the time, I felt, and our council also felt. So, just a note, it's hard to do that, knowing that, for me it was anyway, to spend without voters' approval. All right, no questions, we'll move on to church roof and bids. Case? Oh, there they are. These are the three bids. In case you want me to go over it, or you, okay. These are the three bids.
Rick,
As
stand,
everybody
Rick,
knows-
stand near the microphone, so if, because we're streaming, so this way people can hear
As
you.
everybody knows, we've had an issue with our little roof over here and our carport. It was, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we had that big heavy snow load. It ended up ripping down some of our gutters. And of course, over the last couple of years, I myself have we thought we had a leak, and there could have been a leak on the big roof. I went up there 2 or 3 times myself to check it out. There's no visible damage. There's one, and I think I've explained this to everybody, there's a seam that's up here. It was last summer when I sealed that seam up, and we haven't had no problems with the big roof since. So we moved forward, got some bids, upper and lower, on both the upper roof, the main roof, and the lower roof. Council has looked at the bids. You got like I said, you got the 3 bids there in front of you. There's substantial difference in a lot of the biddings. We had, as a council, decided that we'd take the bail-in bid, and with your approval, we are recommending to do the lower at this point in time.
Please go to the next slide.
just because we have, and at 66,000 that we'd need to do the lower roof. We got about 18,000 was coming from insurance, right? If not,
16,910.80 is our insurance money that we received.
That's the next slide too, Elise. You can go back and forth.
so we were looking at, it was like right around
Go back one slide, sorry, Elise. I have you bouncing all over the place. So, go forward one more. So there's three options. We got, first of all, before we can decide what we're doing, money we're spending, we need to decide what option we're gonna do first, Rick. The council, as Rick said, the recommendation was just to go with Bayland. There is a big difference here. Mike Stone talked about that too. And Casey, you probably talked to this being in the construction world. There's so much business. Mike's saying he's seeing this in his world. Mike Stone was telling us this at council meeting, that they're seeing in this world right now, in the banking world, is they're so busy with projects that they'll give you a bid, but they'll bid it real high. So that way, hey, if you take it, fine, they're making a lot of money, so they're overbidding. I will say I talked to Bayland, I tried to sweet talk them a little bit, because I know they're doing Camp Luther work right now, and I said, hey, and said, hey, you know, we're looking at projects down the road too, so, I don't know if that did me any favors, that could have hurt us, who knows. But we gotta, what has to decide here is, what do you wanna do? Do we address the roof? Do we replace only the lower roof, or do we do it all at once? And then if you decide to do, let's say you decide to do it all at once, which bid do you go with? And if you only do the lower roof, which bid do you go with? So you gotta, there's multiple things here to decide. I think you first gotta decide, are we doing anything with the roof? That's the first decision. Then you gotta decide who you wanna use. You can rope it together if you want. You know, Kyle can make a motion, hey, you know, I'm just gonna pick the first one, Great Lakes, that we do the whole roof and then we go with Great Lakes. Kyle can make that motion if someone wants to approve that, but, there needs to be a motion though. So.
case.
I should also clarify too that all of those bids they don't include just the roof, but they also include the gutter, which is a very bad issue, as well as the downspout. So it's not just the roof panel, that's a whole project combined. Just wanted to clarify that for your board.
Yep, and also, before you make your motion, Kyle, I see, do you have a question? Okay, that also includes, the lower roof includes the car park port as well.
Todd?
What type of roof, or what do you mean by replacement? Are you looking at ripping all the steel off and putting a new steel on there? Is the steel quality the same? I'd like a little bit more information between this kind of thing to make a decision.
The bid,
Go to the microphone so they can hear you online.
case, the roof bids were replacing with metal, correct?
Yes.
There wasn't a membrane like we had first?
Rick, you gotta be over by here so people can hear. If you're here, listen online. Kyle asked what type of roof placement. Yeah, you gotta make sure they can hear you online, and Carol can hear you as well. So what type of roof placement is it?
So the roof type of replacement
Casey,
is.
can you come forward? This way, I'm gonna have you talk in the microphone as well, buddy. This way people can hear you online, and you can address it easier. And everyone in here can hear you as well. It makes it a little easier. Sorry. It just makes it easier for everyone to hear you if they are streaming online.
It's up to you.
Okay, all right, good morning, everybody. So when we started this, we wanted to be as thorough as possible. We tried to look at every option that was available to us as a church, and as you heard some of the guys say, or some of the ladies say too, one of the first options was having a membrane on the roof, which was substantially less. But the downfall of the membrane was the looks, the appearance. The membrane basically is a rubber membrane, and the color would have been coordinated with the clashed, but we just felt it just would not have looked right. Our other big thing, and I didn't mention too, is part of the roof system is also the snow bars, or snow wedges we call them. The purpose of those is in the middle of winter when we get a lot of snow up there, it keeps that snow damage to the property below, gutters, all that kind of thing. So we were worried about how the penetration was done, and I'm sure a lot of you can understand when you penetrate the membrane, it gets a little wishy-washy, and we weren't easy about that. So that's why we went ahead and rated on the standing seam metal roof. It's going to look very, very good we have now. main roof. So it was, you know, if you guys really want the main one, hey, that's great. We got to cough up the money for it. We can definitely, I feel, handle the lower ones and just continue the course with the main one.
Kyle, how are we funding it? But,
How are we funding this,
well,
pods either way? Is there, do we have funds
The-
available? What are we looking at?
the lower one, Christie, want to answer?
Yeah, go to this slide. So if you recall, back in December.
Krista, come forward if you would, sorry. Maybe,
I'll excuse myself then.
Tie your shoe.
don't go too far, Casey, in case you get questions. Casey,
If
don't
you
go too far in case
recall-
you get questions.
Back in December, we made the motion and approved that we were going to be using the Emeritus Housing Fund that we used to pay to Pastor Grothman, the $1,000 every month, that we were going to be moving that to the Capital Expenditures Fund. So we have $5,000 that we have moved last year, and then we'll have $1,000 for every month this year so far. And I think our time frame was, I mean, maybe 8 to 10 weeks or so out. So I mean, if we think that we might have that extra 1,000 through August, you know, so we would have $13,000 potentially there to apply that is sitting in the capital expenditures fund. We have the insurance proceeds of the 16,910. And then we have the money in, there's some in the Thrivent Fund. We have the 115 in the Memorial Fund. Or we have some additional in that capital expenditures fund. So between all of them, we have the money here. It's just where would people want to see it come from if we chose to do the lower portion. We do not have, well, we may have real tight close on doing the full roof, but that would deplete everything. So,
Larry,
Okay. Now, what do we have, what are we paying out just on loans roughly for the congregation? Nothing, right?
we have nothing for loans.
So we have no mortgage. Why wouldn't we do the loan? Why would we wanna do, you know, it looks the same, it's got the same wear, it's got the same life, you know, longevity. We've got 107,000 sitting in,
Memorial?
no, in,
Memorial? Building?
give me 1 second, I just looked at it. We had 107,000 sitting in, what fund was that? Endowment.
oh,
We have 107,000 in endowment, we haven't done anything with, I know we want that, we wanna grow that. But we got other places we can take money from too. I mean, why not finance at least, you know, pay half of it and finance the other half, is what I'm saying.
Just to comment on the endowment fund, we cannot take anything of the principal out of that fund. Only the interest and earnings on the amounts that are in there. So there isn't much there, and we have a maximum of how much can come out, Ruth. Is it like 5% a year or something that can be? It's like 4, 6, 5, somewhere in there that can be used annually. So there isn't a whole lot available there.
Would you be willing to do me a favor? I don't know if we're gonna need this, but when we get to voting, if we need to paper ballot, because there's only one position, it has 2 people on it, and if someone else throws their name in, we may need to vote. Would you be willing to hand out the papers this way? And there's pins on that back table that are in that blue cup that says
that's
clean,
up to you guys.
if need be. I'll just set these here. If we don't need them, then we'll just leave them, but if we do,
We'd
if
be
you'd be help
wasting
me
our
to
money
do
to.
it. Thank you,
That's just
appreciate
my
it.
personal feeling, and I'll express it. That we'd be wasting our money right now to spend on that new roof when we got another 10, 15 years on that roof up there.
Yeah.
I just can't see replacing that roof. This one leaks, it constantly leaks. That's, it's up to you though. I mean, whatever the board decide, that's
Yeah.
what how we're gonna move forward.
I'll speak to this.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
So I would agree with Rick, I mean, if you're for a year or two out,
Two years ago, just to speak to that, 2 years ago when we had the roof damage from the snow and Casey had the contractors come out, and Pudge was one of them. You guys know who that is, from Shoe Construction. And he came and checked our roof at that time, and he said the upper roof, and this was 2 years ago, he said the same thing Rick's saying right now, 10 to 15 years, he thought we had at that point. So you could say we're 8 to 13 years, I guess you could say, but he thought at that point it was 10 to 15 years, as long as we're maintaining it, so. Dave had a question.
Dave?
One thing we gotta realize, we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow either. You know, something else can go wrong. And then all of a sudden you've got all your money extended.
Casey mentioned the parking lot. We got the parking lot. I know Vision Committee, we were meeting before this. We were talking, are at the point where we eventually need to add on with classrooms and stuff, and then everything got mixed up. Not been in discussion yet. Just to keep in mind, I know people are like, oh, we can't think expanding now. You're right. It's hard to think that with COVID going on, but with the social distance and everything else, we're trying to figure out how we're going to do Sunday school. I know the schools are coming up with, how do we do Sunday school? How do we do Bible? How do we do all this with the social distancing? We don't have space to do those things right now. And so we have a lot of things that we need to think long-term as well and stuff. I'm on the fence, I gotta be honest. I'm on the fence here and with whether to do the whole roof, but that's up to you guys, so.
Casey, with just doing the lower roof, you know, the lower roof also gets hit just because it's all the snow from here, it goes down, hits that roof and then down. Was there any recommendation, anything that could help that roof last a little and work better, knowing that, you know, everything is coming down onto that roof?
There really wasn't like a firm recommendation. It was, the big one was the snow bar, keeping stuff where it was supposed to be. And then, not picking on people in the past, but the design, it's kind of a faulty design. It just, that stuff just comes off this big one and just hammers that little one.
Is there snow bars in the upper roof?
There is not. No, I don't think there's snow bars on the
So, not on the big one.
Would it be worthwhile to put some snow bars on that, so the snow doesn't come flying off, hitting the other roof and damaging that other roof?
That's right, yes, it is an option, a very good option that we've looked at. And that is something we could do in-house to save funds, putting our own snow bars on this one. Because when they take them off the lower one, we could take those, put those up on top, because they fit those, the ribs,
Ribs,
or
okay.
stuff. But if they do the whole roof, the snow bars will automatically be on the south side. They didn't need being necessary on the north
North
side.
side, because it goes right to the ground. Yeah.
Carol, there's discussion over what to do about the upper roof,
Yeah,
whether
that's
snow
right.
bars. and
Steve,
stuff
you have
went
a question?
inside.
Yeah, I have a question. If we just do the lower roof, is that gonna be a problem with the warranty with everything coming off the upper roof onto that roof? Or are we still gonna be able to stick with like a 50-year warranty under that situation?
They didn't apply anything. And that was a topic of discussion with myself and the different contractors, just like Kyle was saying. 'cause
Question over
he
the
knew
warranty
about
of the
the
roof,
problem.
if it would be still valid, if we just do the lower and not the upper.
And just like you said, want to make sure it didn't impact our warranty, that if it could legal out of anything.
Right, you wanna make sure that that's not a problem.
Yeah, it is. And that kind of trickles back to the
Did you do
original
an
problem.
attendance sheet?
The
Did
original
you send an
contract
attendance sheet around?
kind of
What's
legal
that?
Did you
out
send an attendance sheet around?
I did.
So it's an ongoing battle.
The other question, is the steel they use gonna be the same steel for all manufacturers across the board?
Seems like it is. It seems like they all have like the same distributor per
So
se.
going the same distributor, the same exact steel?
The gauge all seem the same, the paint finish, everything. It really was hard to compare apples and oranges between the products itself. It was just so similar. The thing I do know with conviction is the metal they're using is much better. There's no hardware compared to what we have here. It's kind of a faulty design.
Okay.
You know, we've got hardware exposed here and there, and as you know, it ain't the greatest.
Right. So basically, the big difference came down to probably the labor rate and who wants the job the worst.
Yeah. I would say. Can we go back to the previous slide, please, just to see those bids again?
Is there a motion on how the voters would like to continue? If we want to do just the lower, if you want to do all?
I'll motion just to replace the lower,
What's the motion, Lauren?
just replace the lower roof,
Do you have a recommended
Okay.
bid at all you wanna go with, or no?
Gayland.
in your motion, do you want to, are you including the bid from Balin as part of your motion?
Just the lower.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to do just the lower and to award the bid to Balin Building. Is there a second? We have a second by Dave. Gene? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Carol, did you hear us? That we have voters that approved a bid on the lower roof, and they awarded the bid to Balin Builders. Where'd Krista go? Do we have to get a motion where we're gonna pull this money from?
Yes. Yes. So now you have a motion where to spend the funds.
All right. So,
Christie, wanna help?
now I need go ahead. I need a motion, go ahead, to designate where we're gonna pull this money out of. And what you're recommending?
So if we go to page G of the financials, if you have those in front of you, this is a list of all the designated funds. Sitting in the building and ground fund, you'll see the little A and D next to it. The D indicates that in that account, 16,910.80 are the insurance proceeds. So we will obviously be using those because that's what the insurance money was for. And then capital expenditures is going to be where we have the $1,000 a month that's transferred into there. At the time that these financials were done, they're through May, so it doesn't include all of the dollars that will be available when the project is complete. So there would either be $12,000 or maybe $13,000 from capital expenditures to use for this. And then the remaining balance, it can come from whatever in that capital expenditures, or my comment to that is a lot of the dollars in the capital expenditure fund are in our hoarder fund. And I don't know that we want to pull the money out quite yet out of the market before it recovers a little more. Because once you pull it out, then you take your losses.
What is that dollar amount we need again? At least, can you go back one slide? What is the dollar? It was 66 something. Elise?
66,040.
66,040, okay. Just wanted that dollar amount again.
That's what, 28,900.
Mm-hmm.
We need. What was it? 60.
So my recommendation would be the memorial fund to take the remaining amount. I do believe that we should take into account a little bit of overage or add-ons that may happen during the construction process. That if there's, you know, I know when we did the remodel internally, it was like a 10% figure, but I think for these funds to be approved, that we should at least factor in maybe a 5% overage or something, just to give us a little flexibility in case we're off from that 66,000. But my recommendation would be for the remaining amount to come from the memorial fund. But then,
Is that, you talking over and above what we have up here, the 12,000 from Emeritus and the 16,910 from insurance?
correct.
Okay.
It would be the remaining balance to come from there. But if someone is so inclined to add into the motion a small amount for overage.
So right now our bid is $66,040, right? Is what I got?
So
So-
even to say 70,000, because that's a little less than 10%,
Yeah.
that if we said 70,000 and the remainder, so we would have the 16,910.80 from building, capital expenditure would be 12, possibly 13,000, depending on what's in there, and then the remaining from memorial.
Which would be probably right around $41,000.
Yeah.
90 cents, or $41,090.
Yeah.
You wanna go 70,000.
Any questions on, Dave? I was just, if there's any questions on, Kyle?
I was gonna make the motion to go ahead for 70,000 as recommended
So we have a motion to approve $70,000 towards the installation of our new lower roof. Is there a second? We got a second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. You hear that, Carol? All right. Now I lost my spot. All right. On to D, Camp Luther.
Go to the next slide. Oh, plug the sound in, will you? You plugged in the sound, Elise? Plug the sound in to the projector. Can't hear it otherwise. Man, I had this all nice video for you all, and I totally forgot about the sound. All right, we'll get started over again. It's not a very long video. Well, she's winter retreats, all sorts of activities. We send women there for their women events. Men have gone up for the fishing, for the golfing, as well as the worker bee opportunities we've taken advantage at Camp Luther. But unfortunately this summer, with them not being able to host their youth camps, their expenses are still there. So we at St. John's have wanted to do something to help out Camp Luther, and we're trying to figure out what we could do. So between now, the time of this video, actually before the release of this video even, we started a fundraising campaign. We're hoping to raise $5,000 by August 6th. That's Thursday, August 6th, that we can send to Camp Luther to help them in their need this summer. And we are encouraging you to donate. You can make a donation by just going to our church website, www.stjohnpulaskiwi.org. On the top there, you'll see where it says online giving. You can go there, make a donation through our website there to Camp Luther. Or you can make a donation just by mailing a check here to the church. We're hoping to raise $5,000, and to give incentive in doing that, we're going to let you torture me a little bit. Now, most people know that Pastor Yom, I'm a Bears fan, but what we're going to allow you guys to do, if we make certain dollar amounts along the way, we're going to let you sort of torture me in your Packer way. So once we hit $2,000, I'm going to wear a Packers jersey at our block party, during the block party. I may even wear it during the Packers-Bears game if we get enough, when we get there quick enough. If we hit $3,000, I'm going to do a polar plunge. I'm going to plunge into a large sort of pool of ice water and stuff. This is a camp activity, polar plunge. They do it in the cold lake. I'll do it in a cold pool of ice water. Once we hit $5,000, we're going to color my hair green, Packer green. And so you get to have a little fun at that as well. Pastor will wear that for a couple weeks or whatever. If we hit over $5,000, we hit $6,000 plus, I'm going to let you really torture me. And on the side of my head here, I'll let you shave a Packer G into the side of my head. And that's in addition to the green hair and the polar plunge, and in addition to the Packers jersey. This is a great way to help facilitate and help Camp Luther out. So I hope you'll help us out. You'll donate through our online giving, through church offerings, or mail in a check if you like as well. If you make a donation, please make the checks payable to St. John Lutheran, but I ask that in the memo of that check you put Camp Luther 2020 Fund. We really want to make sure we can do everything we can to help Camp Luther. Thank you very much. Thank my son for making that video editing. I have no skills. I'm like, oh my gosh, the things you can do nowadays, amazing. So he put that video together. It is on YouTube. It's on Facebook. Share it with your family and friends. As we said, you can go to the next slide, Elise. I am encouraging us, and I'm going to ask for your help in this. One, through donations, through your own personal donation. But I look around this room, and I can see probably a majority of people in this room have been to camp, either as a youth, as going with your kids, maybe a worker camp or something else. And as I shared in the video, over 40 plus years. Deacon, did you go as a kid to camp for confirmation? No. Oh, you were not a part of that, so you weren't. I didn't start in '79 yet, yeah. But we've had at least, I know 1980 we were going around that time because I've had some people telling me. So at least 40 years with conference, but we've had kids going to camp, and I know workers, the Klipsteins and everything. Ruth, eighth grade. Yeah, you're probably hey, all right. So we have a great impact, and we had a lot of kids devastated this year because summer camps were canceled, unfortunately. All youth summer camps. They have family camps still going on. Confirmation camps are canceled, but there's still an expense for Camp Luther. They just built a big new dining hall. Beautiful. Check out their website. You can see it. They were hoping to christen it this year with the kids, and unfortunately not able to. But they still have expenses. They had to lay off some staff members and everything, let people go. So we're looking to see what we can do at church. And like I said, there's a way you can torture me. You can find this flyer up on the board out there and stuff. But what I'm asking and would like us to consider is if we fall short of $20,000, we have X number of dollars. I think it's like over $13,000 in our Thrivent fund as of May 31st. I don't know if that's changed, Krista, at all much, but gone up a little maybe. And we're not using those funds at this point for anything. I know we have roughly about 5,000, 6,000 are dedicated for the microphones, but there's still a good amount of money. And these are funds that get replenished. Pretty much we get money each year into this. So I would like to, if someone would like to make a motion, I guess I could, but I prefer not to. Anything we fall short between now and by August 6th, so if we raise 3,000, that we take 2,000 from the Thrive and give it to camp. This is something that we benefit every year. Our kids benefit. It's something, if we can help camp out, I don't think anyone would argue. I mean, I'm open to discussion or thought on that, though.
I'd like to make a motion that if we are short, we do take those funds out of the private funds, because we do a lot. Our kids love going to Camp Luther here, and I think that's one of our more important things that we do with the kids, is getting them up there. So I would say, yeah, take the difference out of it.
I'll second that.
I have a question.
Dave?
Do you think that would take the incentive out of people giving?
The incentive, if we're short, we get that 5,000 through donations. I'm not shaving a G in my head, just so you know.
Paint your office green.
When you wear the jersey, you're not gonna wear a Bears hat, are you?
I won't wear bears. I don't wear hats too often, so, but yeah. So the incentive, part of the incentive is torture pastor a little bit. And I think it's one of those, if we fall short, let's go there to help them out. We have a long history of helping, but I think the incentive should be, the first incentive is, let's help Camp Luther, right? That's the first incentive. Your second incentive, let's torture pastor along the way.
What if we set it up as a match?
Hmm?
Because that would encourage people to donate and then you match the funds?
I would put a limit though on it.
Yeah.
Because then once,
But we could put a limit on how much they would match.
Up to 2,500 or 3,000 or whatever, yeah.
Question, I'm sorry, out of line here. Camp Luther Fund has money in it, is that specified for something?
Camp Luther. Usually we use that for confirmation, and that was one of the things I looked at doing too.
Confirmation is not in there. That is going to just be for the camp scholarship.
Camp scholarships, okay. Yeah, the camp scholarships, sorry. Yeah, yeah. On average, we put, what, about $1,000 or more a year out of Camp Luther Fund, I think, to send kids to camp, if I recall. Probably more than that. So you have a motion right now. You either got to amend that motion or,
I wanna amend your motion. I'm gonna amend it.
Okay.
That we would use the camp, or use those funds, the private funds, up to match up to $2,000. That way, we have to raise 3,000 and we can match the other two. We can match 2,000 of that.
is that worded correctly, Krista?
Why would you match everything? That takes a lot of incentive for people to give.
Match up to 5,000.
We just wanna torture you.
So basically,
Okay, we match up to 5,000.
raise 5,000 and then match out of Thrive at 5,000, so instead of giving 5, we
You'd be given 10.
On the floor. You seconded the first motion, right?
Rock did. All right, make that, Larry, can you say that motion again that you're making? He's amending his original motion to say this, is what he said.
that we would match the donated funds from the congregation up to $5,000. So in other words, if the congregation comes up with $5,000, we take 5,000 out of the thriving funds. If the congregation comes up with $4,000, we take 4,000 out of the thriving funds. Regardless, he gets a cheese shake in his head. I got the.
Everybody hear his motion? Is there a second?
Go to the microphone.
Okay, back to the microphone.
Yeah, say,
All right.
say the
The
motion.
we have a motion on the floor to match the congregation's donations up to, if they donate 5,000, we pull $5,000 out of the Thriving Fund, correct? Is there a second? A second by Ruth. Are you following, Joanne? You're like over in your own little corner. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Where am I? All right. Election of officers, or you want to,
No, we got is that what's next? Oh, it is what's next.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, go ahead with that.
all right, election of officers, we have president,
It's all on the wall behind you.
on the ground he goes. We have president, Board of Church Properties, Board of Ed, and Board of Evangelism.
Right, it's on the wall behind you too.
Ah. Okay. Is there any recommendations from the floor, any additions, anybody? Well, Casey,
Microphone, Rick.
I'm assuming Paul Hilbert, if you're dropping out, because his name is in, he called me and told me that he was interested, so are you still on, or no, you're done? Okay, so Board of Church Properties, we'd have, Casey would drop out and let Paul Hilbert take the position if everybody would agree upon that. Everybody else is still existing. I don't know. I thought you guys would get rid of me by now, but.
Yep. Yep.
So if we have anybody would like to
We'll just leave it like that.
take a position, I'd put your name up there really fast. Where'd it go?
Hold on, we're getting there. Yeah, Ruth,
All right,
in the
if not, I
Constitution,
would,
it says that they can continue on with
I
voters'
would
approval.
entertain a
with voters'
motion to
approval.
accept the officers presented on our wall here. It's, President is me, Board of Education is Elise, Board of Evangelism, Emily, and the Board of Church Properties would be Paul Hilbert. Is there a motion to accept these officers? Gene? Is there a second? Yes, we got a second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Casey, if you would call Paul and give him the good news, whatever you want to figure it, so.
All right, item F, Zion vacancy.
All right, this is me. I apologize. I'll just come from over here. I gotta go over by the computer so people can hear me.
Well, I think Carol's gone.
Oh, no,
Is she there?
it's still there. It's showing
Oh.
her still there. All right, just a heads up. As you may be well aware, I'm going to read the letter. You can see up here is what it says. Our brothers and sisters in Christ, our sister church, Zion Oneida, has recently become vacant as Pastor Shum took a call to Michigan. Pastor Pett, our circuit visitor, approached me about filling the vacancy as they begin their search for their next pastor. I agreed to serve them until their next pastor arrives. Deacon Johnson, I've been chatting with him about this, as well as Pastor Hintz. We agreed to work together to meet the needs of both congregations. We ask for your prayers. I'm going to read an email I sent to the elders regarding this. You may ask, why isn't Pastor Pett filling the vacancy as a circuit visitor? He has some health concerns, and he's also not only serving Zion, their needs, but he, as a circuit visitor, has all these congregations, 14 congregations in our circuit that he has to be concerned about. So this is what it means. So this is an email I sent to the elders, and then I'll answer any questions you might have. Gentlemen, Pastor Pett, our circuit visitor, approached me about filling the vacancy as Zion Oneida with Pastor Shum, taking another call. At times like this, when a congregation in our circuit is vacant, the other congregations step up to help the brothers and sisters in Christ. We at St. John have experienced this type of love and care before I arrived here in January 2012. While at that time we were blessed with many retired pastors in our circuit to help fill the need, this unfortunately is not the case anymore. Many of our retired pastors are now resting from their labors with the Lord, and those still with us are far and few between. So at times like this, area pastors step up to help one another. We are, after all, a synod, and the word synod means to walk together. And that walking together means rejoicing with one another, but also caring for one another in our time of need. Zion Oneida currently has a need for spiritual and pastoral care during their vacancy, and I was asked to help provide that care. While that care will take some of my time away from St. John and our own needs, we must not look only to ourselves, but also to the greater need of the church and the witness we can give in caring for our brothers and sisters in Christ. I talked with Mike Stone about this the previous Sunday, and I have agreed to Pastor Pett's request to serve the vacancy. Last Monday, I met with the Board of Elders and their council to discuss the vacancy. I shared my desire to help them in their time of need, but also stressed that they will be asked to stretch and grow as individuals and as a congregation during this interim period. The same is true for us at St. John. We'll also be required to stretch a little and grow in our various leadership roles. Deacon will be asked to help out more and fill in often at St. John and with Zion. We have discussed this already, and he's on board with whatever is needed. In the past, he was utilized a lot. More, and we haven't used him as much as we, up to this point, as much as we could. But we will be using him more often. Pastor Hintz has also said he was willing to help out when and where he can. As for Zion, they'll be making accommodations to meet my needs in caring for St. John. The worship services and confirmation Bible study times will remain untouched at St. John. However, Zion, who currently has a service at 9 a.m. on Sundays during the summer, will be moving to 10:30 as of August 1st. Only for the month of July will our services coincide, which means that I'll be utilizing Deacon and Pastor Hintz to help at Zion when I cannot be there. Come August and into the fall, Zion will have only one service on Sunday, instead of their typical 2 services, as I already stated above. Their Bible study will be before worship service and led by one of the elders for the time being. As for the confirmation, I'll be taking the reins on that, and we'll be setting up a schedule on how to handle that come this fall. In addition to preaching and teaching, I'll be the primary individual for pastoral care for their shut-ins, hospital visits, funerals, weddings, and the like. They currently have about 6 to 9 shut-ins who I will visit once a month, similar to how I visit our current shut-ins. No extra work is being put on our church as far as preparing things for worship. Their staff will handle all the necessary items for Zion and will cover the cost of preachers, Deacon, Pastor Hintz, myself, as well as any additional costs that may come up. The only cost to St. John is the cost of sharing her pastor with a sister congregation in need. However, I believe this will be a wonderful learning opportunity for us as a congregation to lead by example in how to care for those in need, and a great opportunity for Zion's leadership to step up and grow spiritually as well. I'll be in office this week, that was for the, So if there's any questions or any concerns, I'd be happy to address them. This isn't uncommon. You were vacant for over a year and a half. The biggest question I've been getting from people, well, how long are you going to be serving them? The Lord is the one that knows that, not me. I ask for your patience, understanding. Deacon and I chatted. It's going to have a little effect on our Sunday mornings for the fact that One of us may be running between places, and we're going to be looking to a layman or laywoman to step up and help us lead our Bible study here on Sunday morning. That'd probably be the biggest change will be our adult Bible study may not necessarily be led by Deacon or myself. But here's the reality. You're all capable and responsible and faithful Christians. In times like this is an opportunity for us to grow and stretch ourselves. And so I think this is a great opportunity. I'm going to see Zion do that, but I'd like to see our own church do that as well, our membership. So any questions? Yes, Kathy. Yeah.
Are you going to be giving up to give you this time? Because I know you just took on LWML yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, should that be reconsidered? And I know you're part of the fire department and things, so my question
Yeah.
is,
Plus, I've been
you
working.
need to care for yourself.
Plus, I've been working for the census. In case you didn't know that, too, I've been working the census. So the census is done. Just so you know. My wife has asked the same questions. We've been discussing at the house, my wife and I. What can I do, for my personal care and well-being? With LWL, I don't think the requirement's there. If you're not aware, LWL had their convention yesterday, a virtual convention. I let my name stand as a possible junior pastor counselor. I beat out Pastor Jackson of St. John Rankin. Ha ha, take that, Chris, if you're listening. No, Chris is a good friend of mine. So I'm voted in there as a junior counselor, which means over the next 4 years, I'll have a meeting probably, once every quarterly, I think it is, or something like that, Miriam, and stuff. So the commitment there is small with LWML. That won't be, I don't think will interfere or anything. It's no different than what every other pastor does. The fire department, I can pull back there some. I don't always do things with the fire department. I only respond when I'm around. The fire department is an on-call when you're available. So I could be here in my office, the pager could go off, and I just don't go because I'm like, I don't have time. So I only do that when my time's available and stuff. So that don't affect anything. I was doing a census. I took that on just to see what it was like, and then it worked out great with the quarantine and everything. And with the census, I was doing a supervisory role from a distance, more or less. That I'm giving up and stuff. This is going to take more of my time. It's going to take more time away from things I would probably do my own personal time. It take things away from prep for Bible studies that I'll have to use for maybe caring individual pastoral care time. So I'm going to have to learn to manage that a little bit better. So it's going to come down to time management more on my end. The sermons are the same. I'm not doing 2 sermons. If Deacon's preaching here and I have him go to Zion, it's going to be the same sermon. So the sermon prep's not going to be any different. Confirmation, I got to see where they're at. I'm hoping it's the same prep work there, to be honest. So if I can double up, it makes it easier. So it comes down to time management more than anything. And I'm getting out of town as of tomorrow, so I get myself some R&R before we start this all. Deacon, too. Oh, yeah, thank you. Well, maybe. We got to see but there's a potential we may have a few less communion services here. I'm going to try to avoid that if we can, because as we get into the fall, if our service is at 9 and theirs is at 10:30, I'll be able to preach here and then get there in time for theirs. It's only a 20-minute drive from here to Zion. I timed it the other night. That's if I'm going the speed limit, just so you're aware. It's because people are like, Pastor, that seems fast. No, that was the speed limit. I did the speed limit there. If I don't do the speed limit, I can make it in about 13 minutes. So I timed that too. So so it's about 30. So if I'm doing both services, and that's what we got to figure out as we go into the fall, but there might be a few less communion services, but we already have one less communion service a month because we do our children's service, which we're going to figure that all out as well. So, yeah. So as we get into the fall and we set the schedule more, we did set the schedule preaching for July and August. So there will be some less communion schedules in there as well. I'll just probably have a few more gray hairs and maybe look a little more like Dave there, a little less hair on the side as well. So, hey, leave it green. Yeah. I do ask for your prayers, but I ask them not just for myself. I ask them for Zion, Oneida as well. Krista?
Question, of course, from a dollars and cents standpoint for me.
Yep.
When it comes down to Deacon, for what we have budgeted for him, because say you're preaching there, then we pay Deacon to preach here, and I presume the cost they're going to cover.
Is for there, not here. Yeah.
So I am thinking that we're going to end up over budget, because we're already year-to-date 2605, and we only have 3,500 budgeted.
Okay.
So I think, just to make everyone aware of that, that there will be probably a cost to the congregation.
The increase of his cost will go up. You know, we have funds there for guest preachers as well that we haven't touched, right? Or not much.
There is some there.
Yeah. Because I know we schedule always for him, and then we put money in for guest preachers as well.
Yep, there's a total of 750, and we've used 135
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah. And Deacon, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe before I got here, with Pastor Dobroth, you were preaching up to what, twice a month? Is that right? At least.
When I was called, when Pastor Klein left, I was called 25% of my time, which meant 1 to 2 services a month. Normally one was the fifth Sunday, it was twice a month. So my salary back then was just over $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
In quarter time. This is actually less than that because I won't be doing as much as far as the confirmation and Bible study.
Yeah.
More just worship.
Yeah. So we're utilizing him a little bit more here than we have in the past, I'd say 5 years, 6 years, since he's returned. How long ago was that you returned now? 2012, 2013, somewhere in there? 2012, yeah, October. Oh, yeah, it does. So, yeah, so we're utilizing him a lot more than we have, preaching here for us. You know, if he's preaching just at Zion, that won't be a cost for us. I can tell you right now, he's preaching, every weekend in July and August between here and Zion. We have him scheduled. Dave?
I made a comment before that we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow with our money situation.
Yeah. 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 Obviously, in regards to sort of going on, piggyback on that comment, we don't know about tomorrow. Obviously, we don't know what the fall's going to bring us with COVID, if there could be a spike again and we go back to virtual. Obviously, a lot of those things will factor into the vacancy as well, how we care for them and stuff. So just keep that in mind. But we do ask for your prayers for myself, for Deacon. We are blessed that we have someone like Deacon. We're blessed that we have someone like Pastor Hintz who worships with us and can help fill out. He's filling in a lot of different places right now as it is, Pastor Hintz is. He's preaching so many different places because there's such a need for people to help out churches and stuff, so. Yeah, Redeemer Day, that's right. And please keep Pastor Pett in your prayers as well. He's waiting for a kidney transplant and stuff. Did they found a match yet, do you know, Kathy? I know there's a potential. His sister. Thanks be to God. So we keep him in our prayers and stuff, and I know, so please keep that in mind as well. And that will help us all out. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? I ask for your patience, I ask for your prayers as we care for our brothers and sisters here. I'm still available. I'm still your pastor. The thing I told Zion, if they don't like something I do, they get rid of me soon enough. And if you don't like something I do, you're stuck with me.
Thanks, Pastor. I remember it wasn't that long ago, we were going through the same thing, so let us know how we can help if you need any kind of help. All right, moving on to item G, moving Thursday service to Wednesday. Larry, are you coming up for, oh, man. Oh, he's not coming up. That's all, get out of here.
I was making a recommendation about moving services from Thursday night to Wednesday. I just want to give you a little history. I came here in 1995, so I've been here 25 years and they haven't kicked me out yet. So, but when I got here, services were on Thursday nights. And I asked, well, how come we're on Thursday nights when the rest of our circuit and most of our district, they're all on Wednesdays? And I was told, well, it's because that's what the farmers wanted. Okay, well,
I don't see too many people coming to church in bibs. I don't know how many farmers we got, but I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people had interest with going back to with going to Wednesday nights. And I just want to bring up a couple points, and then congregation can decide what they want to do. Wednesday nights in the WIAA, the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association, and in your school districts is church night. So they don't put any of their sports on Wednesday nights anymore. There's nothing on Wednesdays, so that opens on Wednesdays. We moved confirmation to Sunday, correct? So that's open. The rest of our circuit is on Wednesday nights, plus during Advent, what do? We go to Wednesday nights. We do it twice a year. We do it during Advent, and we do it during Lent. So why not just stay on Wednesdays year-round and just make it uniform? It makes sense. To me, it made sense to a lot of the people, whatever either way, I'll still come to church on a weeknight. It doesn't matter. But Wednesday nights would just make more sense for
Continuity.
for continuity's purposes. It's just something for everybody to think about. If they want to do it, I would say now, if you're going to do it, now's the time. You're coming back from COVID. New school year starting up in September. It doesn't have to start next week. You could plan it to start in September. You could plan it to start in October. However you want to do it. It doesn't matter to me. But I would say now's the time to do it if you're going to do it. Just a thought.
Thanks, Larry.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'll say in regards to the sports things, while WIAA, whatever, may not do sports, club sports still take place on Wednesday nights. Club sports take place every night. So we're not going to get away from the sports things, unfortunately. Club sports play every night of the week. It's just people making it a priority or not. Larry approached me about it. I said, bring it to the voters. I said, for me, it's just going to make sure I have my sermon done sooner. My recommendation, if we were going to do it, though, I would wait until January. And the reason for that, because we are back to Thursday night right now. People are used to it. Give us some time. We don't know what the fall's going to bring. And in December, we always go to an Advent. And it's easier once you start on that Wednesday at that point, just to continue on, because Lent's going to come in February, end of February, beginning of March. So you're really just doing it for the month of January, and people are carrying it through, so they're used to it. That'd be my only recommendation. It also gives time to get feedback. We really didn't pull the people that go Thursday night and ask them. If we want to pull them and ask them, you can, but I think if that's a route you want to go, or if you want to leave it at the elders and let the elders discuss it and make a recommendation, because those are usually where those things would come from, I would say, lay it at the elder and say, hey, we want you to pursue this, and congregation really would like you to consider this and maybe do the hard work of finding out the thoughts and then making a decision. Those are thoughts, but.
So in the past, the big discussion has been the organist, that we don't have one available, and you are confident that
Between Caleb and David, we have two. I know Caleb, Wednesdays he's available Wednesdays more than he is Thursdays because of he's in a quartet or whatever string instrument, and they practice on Thursdays. Rhoda, we haven't talked to Rhoda about coming back yet, I think Lori reached out to her maybe, but we haven't gotten her on the schedule yet, so that's another one we have to check. But I'm confident we would have a Wednesday organist, and I can confirm that before, and that's why I think if we have more time.
play somewhere else, I thought, on Wednesdays, and we can only get her on Thursdays?
I don't know, that might be a Lori question, but I know between Dave and Lori, yeah, because Dave usually plays somewhere else on Thursdays sometimes. That's why we have trouble with getting him on Thursdays, so, yeah.
Any more questions? Gene?
Right. We'll get to that after we finish discussing the service. Do we want to make a motion, or want to table that? Or do we just leave it dead in discussion? I just want to move, I want to make sure we. Yeah.
After December's voting, I think it's something that we should consider and that we should vote on at December voters meeting to start in January, because we're already meeting.
How about we put it on the table for elders to discuss and look at and approach the voter, or to approach people about, and they can figure out whether they want to survey or come with recommendation. We can look into the organist, make sure we do have an organist lined up, if that's the route we do go or not.
Then I'll make a motion to that effect.
Table it till December.
Well, it will table till December, have the elders look at it in the meantime, and the council, and they can come to December's board meeting ready to make a decision, instead of what we've done for the last 20 years, with stepping off.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
And we have a second by Ruth.
Yeah, question, Kyle?
Kyle, you got a question?
Okay.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. I'm not no wrong.
All right, there was one final question about the directory. Amy, do you want to speak to that at all, or you want me to talk to it? Amy's gonna let me talk to it. Gene, your question about the directory, we just proofed it the other week, right? I mean, we were looking at it. COVID put a damper on slowing everything up. And then, honestly, when we got done, we had an opportunity to throw pictures from this year, from the Easter service, COVID Easter. So we're like, all right, let's take this opportunity to throw these pictures in. So we delayed it a little on our end. I will say I delayed a little because I had to get my letter done and everything, but throwing in more pictures. But it is wrapping up. He's doing, we proofed it, the names and things, the other week. Lori went through, and Amy went through.
Carol, did you discuss?
Yeah,
it?
so hopefully within the,
Directory and when it
by,
might come out.
within a month, I would hope, we should see it. Because print time, I don't think takes long for him. Turnaround, once we give him the final proof, he said it's rather quick, so. Yeah. That's, I'm done.
Okay. If nothing else, before we make an motion to adjourn, I just want to personally thank Casey, and I think as a congregation, we should thank him also for the years that he's been on the board probably as long as I have, and he's sat through some tough meetings, some big projects that we had there, so a round of applause for Casey. Thanks, Case. We're going to miss you. Motion to adjourn. Oh. On what?
It's in her board report.
Yep, I have the full notes to the financials and everything all in there.
So that's okay, that's all we need.
Yep.
I didn't know if we needed public rate.
Oh,
If anyone has questions, we're sitting, just to highlight, we're sitting at a positive $3,009, and that's without any of the PPP funds in there, so really, that's another 28.3 right on top. So,
I didn't know if we had to verbally say something.
yep, not unless anyone has any questions, thank you.
there should be one more slide.
We have a motion to adjourn by Steve. Is there a second?
Not that
Is there a
slide.
second
This is Pastor John from
by
St. John
Kyle?
Lutheran Church.
All in favor signify by saying, I thought I missed something.
Yeah. Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Ready?
Yep.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him above, ye heavenly host. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in December, hopefully. Kyle. Thanks, Carol, for joining our meeting. We're all over.
Not quite an hour and a half, so. By the time we actually started, it was like 1, or about 10.
What time is it?
It's 10, noon, just turned noon.
Oh, that was a good time.
Yeah, but we started at like 10:35, I'd say. It's about an hour, 20 minutes.
That wasn't too bad.
No. Thank you. Appreciate that, yeah.
Have a good vacation.
Yeah, we're leaving tomorrow after the kids